Hi friends, welcome back to Faith and Arrow Homestead. My name is Jaylee and today we're going to make pudding together. I have numerous videos on this channel teaching you how to make things that you could purchase in the grocery store homemade instead, so that you can ditch a lot of those nasty chemicals. I have videos on this channel talking about different chemicals and things that are in your foods and what their names and how they're made, what they do to your body and whatnot. And so that is the driving force behind trying to make these things homemade, as well as cost savings, as well as quality, as well as just trying to bless my family with homemade food. So I have another video on this channel called Homemade Snacks for Hungry Husbands, and this could go under that title because pudding is one of my husband's absolute favorite snacks. Vanilla pudding, those pudding cups that you buy from the grocery store. Before I did any of this, I used to give him one of those with a peanut butter fluff sandwich, and that's like his favorite lunch, like glory days, kid in a cafeteria, like his favorite lunch. So I'm going to make vanilla pudding today, and I have pulled up here. I used to buy the Royal brand instant pudding mix. I really wouldn't ever buy the pudding cups because of the plastic, and I just, I've always kind of at least had a little bit of a homemade mindset, so I would buy the powder instead of the pudding cups. And they have a lot of ingredients, a lot of which I can't pronounce. They have yellow 5 and yellow 6, and then it really, really shocked me to see that the powdered pudding mix has cottonseed oil. Cottonseed oil is among the list of seed oils that I do not consume and I do not want in my home. I could not believe that. And actually the pre-made in plastic pudding cups have a lot less. Let's find the vanilla flavor pudding cups. They have water, sugar, skim milk, tapioca starch, salt, and then artificial color, yellow 5, yellow 6. Caramel color is a big one. I've talked about that in a video before. Caramel color, it can be very bad for you. Not as many ingredients as the powdered, which really surprised me, but I digress. I say all of that to say this is worth making homemade, and it's also very easy, and if you use good quality ingredients, it can be more luxurious and more delicious than what you buy from the grocery store anyway. The only ingredient in this pudding that may be frowned upon is cornstarch. Cornstarch is used as the thickener. If you were already purchasing pudding from the grocery store, whether in the cups or the powder, you were consuming it anyway, so I wouldn't worry about it too much. I don't love corn products, but you got to pick and choose your battles here, and I choose cornstarch over cottonseed oil any day of the week. So I have a small saucepan here, and I'm going to start by adding 2 tablespoons of cornstarch. I know that there are other thickeners that people who make their own food from scratch use. I think, is it arrowroot powder is one, tapioca I think is one, and so if you have access to those, please, absolutely, you don't have to use the cornstarch. I don't have any of those. Next, we want 1 cup of sugar. I'm just going to use my organic unbleached white granulated sugar for now, but in the future I would very likely use brown sugar or coconut sugar just for some added flavor. We are doing just a plain vanilla pudding this time, but of course when you make things homemade, you are in control of the flavors and the ingredients, and you can do any number of things to spice it up, make it more interesting, more diverse flavors. So right now we have the cornstarch and the 1 cup of sugar in here. Next, we are going to add 2 cups of whole milk. You could also use half and half. In fact, if I were using store-bought milk, I would use half and half. But because I have a full fat organic grass-fed milk that I get from a local farm, I think that the fat content will be enough just using the whole milk. But if you normally use store-bought milk, even full-fat milk still isn't as full fat as it would be if you were getting it from a farm. And so I would recommend using half and half if you only have access to store-bought ingredients. And we're going to do 2 cups of that. Now we are going to go over and get this on the stove, and we're going to bring this to a boil. So we are over at my stove, and I'm gonna turn this on high, and we're going to get this boiling. I wanna just kind of mix it together here because I do have that sugar and the cornstarch in here, and I wanna make sure nothing burns or sticks to the bottom of my saucepan. So we are going to bring this mixture up to a boil. Make sure that you're stirring so that nothing sticks and burns. While this is coming up to temperature, I'm gonna stand right here by it so I can keep stirring it and keep an eye on it. I've got kind of a medium-sized bowl here, and I'm going to crack 2 eggs into it. I'm gonna use this same little whisk here to actually just whisk my eggs together here. And then I'm just going to set that aside. Don't need it quite yet. So as you can see here, this is now starting to boil, and we are going to let this boil while keeping a close eye on it and stirring it for 1 minute. And of course, I have this in a saucepan that is too small, so I'm gonna have to keep lifting it up so that it doesn't boil over. But it is still boiling, so it's fine. The cornstarch, although I know it's not the best ingredient, really works. This is already starting to thicken really nicely. Okay, now I can go ahead and turn the heat off. Now, here's what we have to do, and we have to be very careful. We've got our bowl of eggs here, and we need to pour a little bit of our hot milk mixture into the eggs, and we need to whisk it in. So I'm actually just gonna get kind of a large spoon, and I'm gonna go ahead and have my whisk ready. Sorry, I know you can't see that super well. And I'm going to add just a spoonful. Drizzle it in and whisk aggressively as I do so. Another spoonful. So what we are doing here by pouring the milk into the eggs and whisking very slowly, we are tempering the eggs. Because if we were to move the eggs right into the hot milk mixture in the saucepan, it would actually scramble the eggs, and obviously we don't want that. So by slowly drizzling the hot milk into the eggs, we are tempering them. Now, of course, you could keep doing it with the spoon, but the spoon is gonna take a little while. So here I've got that same measuring cup that I used earlier, just that I rinsed out, and I'm gonna get a good cupful here, and I'm going to slowly drizzle that amount in. And I'm gonna do that a few times here. Once you have a little less than half your milk mixture whisked into your eggs, I reckon it is tempered enough that you can go ahead and now add it to the saucepan. But we are still going to do that so very slowly. And so now we're just switching positions. We're going to have our whisk in our milk, and we are going to very slowly add in our egg mixture. Even with all of that whisking, there were still a couple little egg chunks, and whatever. It's homemade, it's fine. Extra protein. It's not that big of a deal. But obviously this tempering process is important so that you don't end up with chunky egg pudding. It's the most tedious part of this entire pudding making process, but still it only took me maybe 3 minutes, and it would be quicker if I wasn't having to stop whisking to talk to a camera to explain what's going on. So don't let that scare you off from trying this, because it's not bad. And as you can see here, we're starting to end up with that yellowy pudding color that you would come to expect from a store-bought pudding. So now we're going to turn the heat back up. I'm only going to turn it to like a medium high because it won't need to be on. This will boil really fast. We're going to bring this to a boil, which is going to be kind of difficult for me in this tiny saucepan, but we'll make it work. So we're going to bring this up to a boil again. And just like before, we're only going to boil it for just like a minute or so. So this is already starting to boil around the edges, and you can see that it is setting up and starting to thicken nicely. So this is now boiling, and we're going to let it boil for just like a minute, 2 minutes max. Keep whisking it really consistently so that it doesn't stick or burn. All right, go ahead and turn off your heat. At this point, we're going to add 1/4 teaspoon of salt, 1 tablespoon of butter, and a splash of vanilla. May I please encourage you, if you have not made your own homemade vanilla before, may I encourage you to please do so, because this is going to give our pudding a luxurious flavor. And you can see, look at all of those specks. That is all real vanilla bean from this homemade vanilla, because there are vanilla beans in here. And as it continues to extract, the little beans pieces come out. And so our pudding is going to be flecked with the vanilla bean. Isn't that what makes it French vanilla? The presence of the vanilla bean? What makes it French vanilla? Anyway, we're going to add a splash of that. I guess if I had to put a measurement on it, I'd say a teaspoon, but you guys know, we measure that with the heart, and we're just going to get these ingredients combined here. Oh yeah, you can see all of those little vanilla bean flecks in there. That is so very pretty. I have both a video as well as a blog post on how to make your own homemade vanilla. It's very easy and a lot more affordable than purchasing it from the store. So I encourage you to do that. It's great to have in your kitchen. And now this is finished. So what we're gonna do, I just rinsed out the same bowl that I used for the eggs, and we are going to put our pudding into that bowl. Oh my gosh, that smell. Oh my goodness. I want to get every single bit of that flavor, so I'm gonna use a spatula to scrape out the rest from the pan. Okay, let's see if I can blow on this and get this cool enough to try. The butter really makes a big difference. I think the butter is what sets it apart from a store-bought pudding, because the fat used in the store-bought pudding is that nasty oil. But this is butter, and so it has kind of that creamy, buttery flavor, but it's subtle. It's not overly buttery, because I know that's not quite what people are looking for in a pudding, but it's just subtle, and it just adds that kind of like farmhouse homemade vibe to it, and it is so good. Now, this is just for fun and completely optional. I keep these little Vital Protein packets on hand, and I sneak them into Tom's food all the time because he has issues with his wrists and his ankles, just joints in general. And so I like to try and sneak him some collagen, and he knows, for the record, that I do that. And so I'm just going to put a generous sprinkle of that over the pudding. Nothing crazy, I'm not measuring it, just whatever. And I'm gonna stir that in, and it just adds a little extra nutrition, a little extra something to this pudding. All right, this next step I don't love, if I'm being honest with you. We need to cover this with plastic wrap. The reason we need to cover it with plastic wrap is because it needs to sit at room temperature for an hour. That's the next step, sitting at room temperature for an hour. And then we put it in the fridge. And both at room temperature as well as in the fridge, it will develop a skin. And we actually need to take the plastic wrap, and we need to have it be flush up against the top of the pudding. Now, the reason I don't love this is because hot plus plastic usually equals gross in terms of like chemicals and toxicity and whatnot. But again, let's be realistic and remember that the alternative is buying the pudding cups that come in plastic and are sitting in plastic. And I guess the box of pudding mix doesn't come in plastic, but it has cottonseed oil, so. So yeah, we need to do the plastic wrap to keep it from getting a film on top, and then this is just going to sit and hang out at room temperature for an hour. I'm gonna go ahead and taste test this with you. We're going to see how nicely that plastic wrap actually just came right off. It doesn't stick or anything, and it protects it from getting that film. And it actually, for only having been, I put it in the fridge after an hour, and it's been in the fridge maybe an hour. So even after just an hour, this is still setting up really nicely and looks really good. It has great color, and this definitely looks like vanilla pudding. So this is one of those where making it homemade doesn't give you a product that is like drastically different in look and flavor from what you get from the store-bought. And I don't know if I'll be able to convey it to you on camera. Let me see if I can take a video with my phone. All of those little black specks that you see are from the vanilla. So there is actual vanilla bean in this pudding, and that is just beautiful, and it's going to be delicious. So let's go ahead and do a little taste test. Look, I think Tom is really going to like this. Are you kidding me? I'm going to double dip because this is just for me and Tom. That is so smooth. You don't have to worry that the texture or the consistency is going to be off because you made it homemade. That pudding is so just smooth. I think I'm going to have Tom do a taste test for us. I know that some of you guys really like that when I have him come on and do a taste test. But I'd be really interested to know what he thinks. Because he's the pudding guy. I don't really like pudding that much. I don't really like Jell-O that much. I could take it or leave it. He likes it. The hubby taste test. I made vanilla pudding.
Interesting.
And I told them how you really like vanilla pudding. Go ahead.
I love vanilla. Can I shake this up? Stir it up?
Sure.
Shake it, stir it.
It's really good.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Do you like it?
Yeah.
And the texture's a little different, but it's pretty close.
It's very close, but I will probably devour that within 5 minutes.
I told him that I made a special dessert because today's Valentine's Day. So I made a dessert, and we're going to get Chinese food tonight. Because the French onion soup bowls that you guys saw, I made them days ago, and I'm not making them again. So we're having Chinese. I hope you guys are having French onion soup bowls. But I made this for us to have tonight. You can
really
double
good.
dip.
Oh, 100%. Okay.
And then do you see all the little black specks?
Yeah.
That's actual vanilla bean, because I make my own vanilla extract using vanilla beans.
I'm very impressed.
Happy Valentine's Day.
Hey, thanks.
Here, go ahead. Take it.
Okay.
Husband approved. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll have the recipe linked down in the description. I can't wait to see you in my next one. Have faith and keep moving forward. Bye.
See ya.